Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. I am endlessly fascinated and curious about the world around us, about business, about politics, about the arts, about culture, about developments, about social issues, and the people that are shaping all those issues and shaping our future. Every night at 6 o'clock on 960 AM, I get to dive into these conversations with thought leaders, with change makers, with entrepreneurs, with politicians, and with everyday heroes that I get to unpack their ideas and the stories that matter. What's the future of our economy? How do we build stronger communities? What can we learn from music, the arts, from sport? How does policy actually shape our real lives? What does leadership look like today? If it's interesting and relevant, and we're talking about, you'll hear about it here on the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. I want to have real conversations, in-depth conversations, ideas we're sharing. Brian Crombie on the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. And now I want to introduce you to Deena Theodora. She is a singer. She's a songwriter. She's a performer that I know from Mississauga and from Toronto. She's now a worldwide phenomenon. She just came back from Britain, where she launched her single, and so I want you to meet her because I think she is a performer of note in Canada that you're going to want to listen to and hear about. But also, she posted a really interesting comment slash theory about femininity that I thought was really interesting. And she had 10 suggestions to females to ensure that they felt strong in their femininity. So, Deena, welcome to the show to start with, and tell us, you were off launching a single. What's the single all about?
Well, first of all, Brian, thanks so much for having me. It's been so long, since not being in Toronto, being in Ottawa a lot of the time now. But the single was going great. That was your question. You were wanting to know more about the latest single.
Yeah, what's the name? Where can people get it? On Spotify or where?
Yeah, absolutely. Just you go to all platforms, all streaming platforms, Deena Theodora, and the single is out. It's called Sin City, and all the latest updates and releases and all the fun and exciting behind the scenes, everything happening pretty much for the journey. You could check it out on all my socials, Deena Theodora.
And if people wanted to check out some of your performances, are there live performances? Are there videos? What's the best way to see if they love Deena as much as I do?
Oh, that's absolutely. So you could check out the streaming services, but then I'm also on YouTube. You just type in my name and a whole bunch of videos and performances will come up.
And Britain, why did you go to Britain, and what was that like? What was the experience like launching your single?
So after this single, my next one, upcoming one in late summer, which I'm so excited about. It's one of my most exciting projects to come, and it's going to be with a collaboration with OVO, an artist with Drake, and so that's to date one of my most exciting projects that we were promoting in Britain. It was all surrounding the Wireless Fest. Drake was, performing and basically centered there in Britain. And it was a beautiful festival, a beautiful chance to just get to meet fans and just really just go about the whole creative journey.
Excellent. Well, good luck on all that, and I look forward to hearing some of the music, if not a lot of the music. And if you're ever performing in the Toronto area, please let me know. So I reached out to you about a month ago, I think it was, when you posted this really interesting post about feminine energy, divine feminine energy, and why is it that you felt like you needed to post this post about feminine energy, and you came up with 10 meaningful tips to help ladies get aligned with their feminine energy. Why did you feel like you wanted to speak out on this?
It's interesting. It was, I have to say, and this is going to bring up, a whole, like a mix of feelings, because it was around the time of the Kanye Bianca, she had shown up to an event and she was obviously in a very artistic, extravagant wear, if you remember what that was all about. And,
it was like nothing was there, actually, as I remember.
Well, yeah, it was quite mesh, but yeah, basically it was more of a statement. And I think that, I kind of played the opposite. I took the stance of everyone's going to start to attack on one end. But then I took the opposite and I was like, why don't we just take a second and just look at things from face value? There's a time and a place, I agree. But at the same time, I think, throughout centuries, in the Roman times, for example, people would fathom at the beauty of a man's body. But what about going back to the roots of the divine feminine and appreciating and valuing and having women harness their beauty on every level and not being ashamed of it and not being shunned or shamed by it, but really seeing it for what I believe to be as a healing form of divine feminine energy that has the potential to really make a lot of positive impact.
When we chatted, you mentioned owning your sovereignty or being comfortable with your sovereignty over your own body. What do you mean by that?
Sovereignty, and more in terms of, I would say, just owning your own autonomy. I mean, as a woman, I mean, there's a power and a sovereignty in that, in feeling empowered and being able to harness, taking yourself within the context of the divine feminine and rewiring the narrative and the stigma that so many women unfortunately have, gone through for centuries, for being ashamed or being shunned for their beauty or for showing their beauty. And so to me, I want to get to a point where we rewire the narrative around that and start to really make it about harnessing a woman's beauty, harnessing the healing powers, of what that means. Because, in the divine feminine, when a woman is in her true divine essence and divine feminine, it is a healing force. There's nurturing, it's sensual, it's intuitive, it's magnetic, it's, there's a presence of sensual connection. And I believe that just like the yin and the yang, if she's able to really harness her own divine feminine, that will also be healing towards the masculine.
How is it healing?
It's healing in a sense where everything creates a perfect harmony and balance. There's no shame, there's no stigma, there's no shaming a woman to be her ultimate true divine feminine self. And what that means is allowing her to harness it around her partner, around just men in general, to be able to have that sacred healing empowerment that I believe that the divine feminine has and is.
I interviewed a professor from the London Business School who wrote a book called Erotic Capital, and she said that it's one of the negatives from a feminine standpoint, that charisma is seen as a positive in a man, but sensuality or sexuality or erotic is seen as a negative by too many people in a female. What do you say to that?
And so that's exactly what I'm getting at is, again, with, how many years have we been wired to shame and to talk down on a woman's being empowered by her, sensuality, by her divine feminine. And when I say divine, it is ultimately divine because of the fact that I personally believe that people just feared the unknown, and women are so powerful that if they embrace and truly harness that within themselves, I think the world would just be completely just so much more magical.
We're going to take a break and come back, and I'm going to ask Deena to take us through her 10 tips on how people can stay aligned with their divine femininity. This is going to be interesting and fun. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio. I've got Deena Theodora with us tonight. She is a singer. She's a songwriter. She's a performer. She's just recently released a single, and she wrote a really interesting post that I wanted to chat about in regards to what she describes as divine feminine energy. And she says, embrace your authentic self and divine feminine energy. It's a powerful journey of self-acceptance, intuition, creativity, and inner strength. And she goes through 10 meaningful tips to help you stay aligned with your truth if you're a female. Number 1 is honor your intuition. What does that mean, Deena?
Before I answer that, I just want to say before the break, there was 2 famous throughout history women that truly harnessed and were empowered and were able to use their divine feminine. And I'll give you these, maybe you already know. One of them was Cleopatra, and the other was Marilyn Monroe. And so just naturally, the fact that they were able to tap into that exact example of what I'm saying, they were able to literally move mountains at a time where people again maybe thought it was fine to shame a woman for her eccentric, beauty and just being able to, express herself in that way. But those are, in my opinion, those are really good examples of how women can look up to women that are truly able to harness their divine feminine.
Well, I appreciate that. Some people say Catherine the Great would be another example, and Queen Elizabeth I that led the Elizabethan era would be another one. And if you ever watched the movie The Other Boleyn, that was Elizabeth's mother, that certainly existed as well. So let's talk through these 10. Honor your intuition.
Absolutely. For me, it's just simple. You have this inner voice, and you really just have to remind yourself to practice like a stillness within your day to day, and really just be true to that. And so it's just about quieting everything around you and having that, that intuition it's almost like a gut within yourself. And again, harnessing that as a woman is sticking to that exact thing.
Embrace your emotions without shame.
So again, it's being able to speak your truth, and always going back to being able to embrace and harness the ability to be able to express yourself and not feel that you have to be shamed, knowing that you as a woman can actually have the ability to heal through your divine feminine.
Set boundaries that protect your energy.
So with that, I would say, I spoke about, the gates of self-respect, just knowing when to be able to say what you need to say. And if that means no, when it's time to say it, and to really just be able to nurture those boundaries.
Number 4 is prioritize your pleasure and joy.
So for me, I think I wrote about, there's nothing wrong to be able to just affirm that. And, and again, me being in the arts, me being a creative, it's beautiful to express yourself. And that's where the sensuality comes in, where through dance, through art, it's a natural form that just lifts you up.
And you talk about, something that lights you up and makes space for lighting you up. I think that someone told me, don't diminish your light. Don't darken your light. Make it shine. And I like that. Number 5, connect with your body.
And I'll add to that on the last note, sorry. Again, not being ashamed of your sensuality as a woman, and harnessing into it and just being proud of it and using it for healing. Number 5, connect with did you say which one?
Number 5, connect with your body.
So again, I like to take time, to do things like dance, meditation, nature, all that, embodying and grounding yourself. And, that's why for me in the arts, it just works perfectly, because I'm able to just naturally express through all of my art.
Number 6, reject comparison culture. What the heck is comparison culture?
We deal with it, day to day. You're scrolling through pictures. We're just bombarded with everybody is looking at somebody else, whether it's, you turn on the TV, you turn on your social media, you turn on wherever, whenever, and it's just all around you. And so, really harnessing your own beauty, your own worth within your own unique self, and aligning with that, and knowing that you ultimately have your own unique path, and to not compare, because
you're unique. You're who you are. Number 9, nourish your creativity.
It would be detrimental. Nourish your creativity. For me, it's, there's different activities you could do. I mean, for me, obviously it's through music, right? Women that, express through dance, again, that's an area where they're able to naturally, just allow their divine feminine to just naturally flow in the form of expressing sensually through dance, or you can even take it as far as, writing or painting, and ultimately nourishing that.
Number 8, cultivate sisterhood and safe female spaces.
Well, it's very important, as women, too many of us are catty. I mean, you guys don't deal with that. So I think it's great to, create, a powwow of strong, empowering women coming together and celebrating and harnessing what it is to celebrate basically, beauty, sensuality, divine feminine.
You said vulnerability shared is power multiplied. Why do you need to be vulnerable?
To me, vulnerability is about the fact that you are just able to just be raw and real. I spoke about this, about being around, like a sisterhood. Usually, amongst other women, usually women, it's easier for them to, be more vulnerable because they share similar experiences, sort of thing. And so there's power in that by being able to just opening up about.
Open up, be authentic.
Exactly.
Number 9, heal the inner wounds.
Again, this goes back to centuries or years of whatever the narrative has been about shaming, through growing up, the self-worth, body image, abandonment, talking down on, what it is to really take in your own, be proud of your beauty, be proud of your sensuality, really believe that it has the ability to heal when you are authentically within your true divine essence as a woman. And so not being ashamed of that.
And number 10 is interesting. Redefine strength on your own terms. I think a lot of people, I think that to be successful, you got to be like a man. You got to be alpha. You got to be, very strong. And what are you suggesting here if you want to redefine strength on your own terms?
I'm gonna point back to this. Cleopatra was a perfect example. There was softness and strength that coexisted. She had the ability to just. She was amazing with charisma. She was amazing with having this power and sovereignty, but she also harnessed and knew how to tap into her divine feminine and sensuality. And, she was basically able to just literally use that within herself to, do everything that she did within her, and, through Caesar to Mark Antony. I mean, it was just like amazing with how she was able to truly tap into that. And that became a strength. And that's why I will always use her as an example when I'm talking about the topic of femininity and harnessing your own feminine sensuality, divine feminine.
Deena, thank you so much for sharing your list with us and your thoughts and your examples of Cleopatra and Marilyn Monroe. I think that that was really interesting. And it is I think a potentially contrary point of view with sort of the, what a lot of people think today. And so I really appreciate it because frankly, I agree with you completely. And I think it's wonderful that you're making use of your divine feminine energy to be a success in the performance arts. And I think that you're a great example for young ladies. And so I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brian. I just want to add on that note, I personally, being an artist, being a performer, I am completely tapped into my own divine feminine and my ability to tap into my own sensuality and be able to express that through, my music, my dance, my art. And I want to be able to allow other women to realize that there is so much power and there is so much sovereignty within them to be able to, instead of shunning a woman for that, to really embrace it. And there's so many healing aspects to that. So, I just really want to add to that, there's people that are always going to say something, oh, she's an artist and she's expressing too much sensuality. For me, it's the contrary, I'm completely empowered and there's a sovereignty within that.
Deena, thanks so much. If people want to check out your music, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yes. So you guys can go to all streaming platforms, Deena Theodora, all my socials, Deena Theodora, and make sure to check out the next single coming out and lots of fun stuff on the way. And I'm excited.
Come back when your single comes out and talk to us about it. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to another guest talking about a women's empowerment organization and a big event coming up. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes.